with it right. Here with who I started with, we something like a Spartan. It's going hard regardless. I'm from the 826 plus 5. Mo bitches, 8 no Central Coast mob and suicide. Feeling arsonist. I step in the booth and cast. I gotta keep it lit. Engineer all my music. I work hard at this.
That's right. We're back. We're live on Chicano Tube. We're live on Chicano Street. Do me a favor. If you like, si gustan, you can hit the like button. Just some formalities. Let's go through them. You can hit that like button. If not, right next to it, you can hit the chinga tu madre. It's all good. We got thick skin, Chicanos in California. In general, there are some softies. Absolutely. There are some blanditos, right? You can hit the chinga tu madre button. Let's go ahead and keep it professional. Let's go through the formalities. Gracias to all the day oneers. Everyone inside the members only, man. I highly appreciate the members only showing the respaldo from day number one. So shout it over to them. Shout out to all the channels, man, that keep it entertaining, keep it popping, keep it interesting. Also, not just all the negative or entertainment, but there's also the positive channels. Rest in peace over to my brother Rascal, one of the few positive channels that I see on YouTube, right? But everyone's in their own lane. Exactly, right? Rest in peace over to my brother over there. And let's go ahead and get into something that came across my feed. I said, well, right now I got the time. So let me go ahead and pull over and talk about this one. It came across my feed, and let's start it off by saying this. I think it was a couple weeks ago already, and it was on the Food Community podcast, or I want to say it was the All Facts. Yeah, the All Facts podcast. Yeah, All Facts. Where they have all three of them on the panel, right? And American Cholo was called by Prime on his phone. So shout out to Top Food, shout out to Prime, shout out to Compa Raider. Hey, they're doing their thing. They're on the internet and using the internet, man. Like we should be using the internet to keep it popping and do what we got to do, right? Make the necessary moves that we could buy little fucking villas and haciendas in Mexico and just retire, cabrones. So shout out to them. Prime called American Cholo. And it was toward the end of the podcast. I want to say like the last 10 minutes, right? Because they talked about it like going into when they cut it. And American Cholo says something that hit me. And I'm like, bro, you couldn't have said a truer thing. You couldn't have said it any truer than that. And what did he say particularly? What particularly did he say? He said that the streets are taking over. They're taking over YouTube. They're taking over podcast. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play a clip right now what came across my feed. And it seems like the shows, I don't know if it's for entertainment factor or what, but they're taking it there. Okay, they're politicking, they're sitting there, and I'm like, it could just be for content purposes, right? And again, this is not no crazy level 10 security housing unit politics. But when you want to get the streets involved in podcasting, that's different, man. It's really, really different. That's a slippery, in my opinion, a slippery slope. The youngsters know I would never represent, nor misrepresent, nor speak for, nor say, certain things on the internet. Well, let's just go ahead and play the clip, okay? And one of these individuals, there's two individuals here, two different podcasts, nothing new as far as their beef goes. Here we go. They're getting into it full steam. And let's just play that clip.
T-Rail, I'm looking at you. Hey, T-Rail. They asked you, are you condoning Tyga grooming minors? Bro said, oh, we don't groom minors. We groom billionaires.
Who is this? Does he sound drunk? He sounds drunk.
This is the owner of the Food Community.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
But let me give my take. First and foremost, big shout out to the cast on Back on Fig and T-Rail.
Yeah, that's T-Rail, right?
That's T-Rail. That's
Smack. Yeah, I like Smack.
T-Rail's wife, right? First and foremost, you can't be held liable for what another man does. All right? If there's another man that does certain shit that you don't know about, that ain't got nothing to do with you, number one. Number two, this podcaster right here had a whole podcast with Back on Fig and T-Rail, which to me all that, bro, is a no-go. It's like, come on, you had them in your presence, you said nothing. Now that you don't have them there, now that, you know, people are trying to get views and clout and all that, now you want to say certain things. But it's like, no matter which way you turn it, you can't hold that man accountable for whatever anybody else did. All right. And since we all roll on paperwork being Mexicans, where's the black and white for you to make accusations like that?
Yeah.
Like, you out here making full accusations on a whole nother man and a whole nother race with no PW, no black and white. But this is what happens when people that are not involved try to get involved in politics.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, know your place.
Cabrón, politicking on him. So you saw that. It was basically the hater world, and of course there's no secret. There's the guerra going on with Tafu. Let me break this thing down nice and clear and make it simple as can possible, right? There's two different podcasts, and both of the podcast owners are in two different worlds. They're in two different worlds, if that makes sense, right? One is, you know, seeing the business venture, I believe it's shout out to Top Food from Bakersfield, moving down to Los Angeles or having residencies in Los Angeles or places of business, right? Buildings, right? Maybe you own a couple buildings in LA, and he's doing his thing and he's getting it popping over there. I got to give credit where credit is due, is that the revamp of the Food Community Podcast was good, was great, was spot on. And so he got to going. So he's gonna do what he's gonna do now. That involves, if you're in content creating, just look at Adam 22, babosos. Look at Adam 22. They're thirsty for viral moments, cabron. I'm not saying Top Food or Food Community, but I'm saying that's the game. Is getting content, is getting trending and smashing through numbers where eventually the right people, it's going to come across the right person's, you know, eyes, and you could have an investor that possibly wants it to, you know, turn into something on a larger scale, right? Which is great. But that's a whole different lane than from the hater world is, cabrones. That's a whole different lane. If you haven't noticed this, because a lot of people are just 70-80% of the gente on YouTube are just, it comes across their algorithm because they're local. Most of you guys are in California. And of course, you're going to watch, you know, Chicanos. We're popping. We're always the cool kids, right? People want to hang out with the raza, the Chicanos and stuff. The hater world, but he's in a whole different lane, man. He comes from the calles and you can hear it, because he, you know, he'll say only to the extent that he, you know, will say for the internet, knowing there's cameras recording. And I've seen that, and I already said, okay, este cabrón, all right, he's cut from that cloth. Okay, he's gamed up, he's laced up. And it's really him that's politicking in this video. And I'm like, cabrón, first of all, cálmate, way. Okay, the code of the streets is different. You bring in the code of the streets. That's why people, the YouTube yarda blew up and all that shit, because now motherfuckers want to know. The code of the streets is, you know, have no paperwork and telling and complete the mission, cross the finish line. Just the standard, right? The standard issue, right? And that's bringing the streets onto the politics. Well, I mean, of course, that's going to limit the bag, but you can see that he kind of wants to take it there, cabron. He kind of wants to say, hey, you're a resident, or maybe even worse, sir. I thought I heard someone say in the comment section, I'm not making this up, but someone said in the comment section, he says, and he was talking about that one, Panocho. He was talking about that pussy. He was saying he's worse than a resident. He's a pedestrian. That a resident at least has an address somewhere. And a pedestrian no tiene domicilio pa nada, el cabrón, right? So, two different worlds, but politicking over here. What's gonna attract that is the constant crashing out to having to get viral clips, the constant having to be, because we don't want to stir up the same old shit. At least I don't. You know what I mean? American Cholo, who was on here for a minute, I always like to give flowers. I'm a motherfucking flower giving channel. You're going to see me because I know that the system of honor works that way. You want to be honored, you need to honor. Pinche American Cholo had laid down some principles, and what was not going to happen on the YouTube yarda. One of them is we're not going to allow in the Chicano genre. I know we call it YouTube yarda. That's all fantasy football bullshit, but it is what it is, right? People like it and it's cool. Let's keep that going though. It is fun. But people, we don't want to stir up black and brown division. There's already so much fucking brown on brown division. Why are we wanting to stir up black and brown? For what? For content, for clicks, for views, for comments. We're going out ass backward as a society, especially the internet landia, which I also call computer land, is going out ass backward if this is what we value. But I get it as far as the business sense. I get it. I haven't seen Adam 22 with no jumper. I haven't seen them go any larger scale than where they're at. Makes me think, have they peaked and plateaued already? Or how come there's no series? How come there's no big offers, for entertainment? But it is what it is. Anyways, two different things, cabron. All right. This is for the hater world, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to Opina. Shout out to Droops. Man, as soon as Droops hit that couch right there, you're talking about the calle credentials you already had, cabron. Now you got Droops. I remember when he was on American Cholo, or I think it was an interview over there with American Cholo, and he said, "Yeah, I heard about Droop, Highland Park." And he's like, "Yeah, that's me." And American Cholo was like, I remember he even paused in the video. He was like, and if you know, you know. If you don't, we don't have to elaborate, okay? But there's no reason to politic way. The guy does want the beef. Maybe he wants the fucking tips. Maybe he wants the hands. If he wants the hands, then fuck it. We can line that shit up. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Someone send me a DM and say, line me up. Okay. Once I get that, the negotiations begin, and maybe we'll just collaborate with the Fouville event, or have it on our own, or it's just something big, man. I want it to be bigger than the last. Okay. But again, politicking on YouTube, yeah, it's real, man. They want to bring your neighborhoods in there. That's a slippery slope though, because as far as Mexicans go, I mean, who's gonna call themselves the voice? Who's going to have the balls and come out here and say, I speak for everyone? What a pendejo for the internet that baboso would be. But as far as bringing the streets into it, you got to leave the streets out of it, right? You got to leave the streets out of it, all right? Unless it's the YouTube yarda. Then involve the streets on everything. I'm just kidding. All right, you guys, I'm out. But he said it. He politicked on him. You don't want to food community. I guess this is over to you, Top Food. You don't want to politic with people that you don't know what it's about. These are not regular conversations about dropping content. These are not little business contracts for $500, $1,000 a month, $2,000, $3,000. It's different. It's the street shit. And why for fucking now, at all the points in our lives, are we gonna learn to politic with the street shit if you never did it in your entire life? So let's just deal with business. But if you find a business model that works for you, cabron, then keep it popping and don't stop it popping. Gente, enough. I'm out to the next episode. I'll see you on the next one.